one, any minute now, any second now, it's going to say go live. There we go. See, look, fetching. There. You want to come stand there?
Oh, gee, they need to see your stuff.
Doesn't show you there. Oh, yeah. And then on this side, live stream.
You see yourself on your screen.
I should be live. I am live now. Okay, there. So your frame good. Okay, you can go back over there, and then that's it. We'll put it on.
Come with great power, oh God. Defend me with all your might. Listen to my prayer, oh God. Defend me with all your might. For God, He is my helper, sustainer of my life. I will praise His name forever. Praise the God who gives me life, who gives me life. Come with great power, oh God. Defend me with all your might. Listen to my prayer, oh God. Defend me.
Alright, there we go. You can come over here, remember? Yeah. 10 papers say the same thing. Okay.
10 papers say the same thing.
You hear? Look, I still hear him singing.
Because
Hello?
there's some delay.
You know what it is? It's the stream.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
I don't know why I shouldn't hear it there. It's muted there too.
Huh?
That's the YouTube there.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
So you can see yourself live.
Alright, so Father God, please bless this podcast so that it brings more people to come and to know you and to be in a loving relationship with you, Lord. We love you, we thank you, and we give you praise. In and through the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so, not to make it too dry, here we go. This is, song is God is My Helper. Remember the camera's over there. God is My Helper. It's by Brian Wall. Really nice guy. He has a YouTube channel and a website on there, and I learned a lot of gospel music on there from him. So he gave permission to use his song. Maybe we'll play it later. And okay, so this is a lot of paper here. This is it's different, huh? We're live. This is Luciano. Introduce him.
Yeah, I don't know if people can really see me with this in the middle, but
Don't worry. Look. We can actually go and see. There's Luciano. See? There you are. You're in the shot. Don't worry.
I'm in the shot. No worry.
Yeah. Okay, I move the.
Put it in the middle. It's good like that.
It's for your
There you
face,
go.
man. It's to light up your face.
Yeah.
All right, so this is like a prequel, you know, and I can see how now. See, when we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, it's gonna be great. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I do have like 3 or 4 papers here that are all say the same thing in different ways. So,
Yeah.
so my name is Shawn. This is my podcast. It's called It's Me, Shawn. So, Luciano here, he's, you know, in Montreal, he's my best friend. So, I need I need him as my guest host. And if he does a good job, we're going to upgrade him. promote them to real.
Oh, yeah.
But honestly, I rather, now that we got this set up, I have a couple friends like you, my friend, my brother Jerome. You know, I got these brothers that, you know, they want to get out there and talk to people too. So we're going to start setting them up with channels.
Preaching the gospel and, you know,
No.
making people understand what the word really means, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, Luciano. So we wanted to go to you next, remember? We're in the introduction stage. My name is Shawn again. I'm 37-year-old man, and I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. That he lived, he died, and he rose again on the third day. That I'm saved by grace and justified by faith. So this is my podcast. See, this is why I wanted to write down more a pattern.
Yeah.
So the podcast, even though this isn't the real podcast, this is just the prequel. It's going to be about those things, about theology, philosophy.
Yeah, and I think theology really takes a big part in my my life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My person. Do you want to go straight up to me?
Yeah, go. Talk.
Okay.
That's the point.
So I think well, not I think I know it, you know. When I was younger, I used to have this, and you know me, and you know how I was, you know, when I was younger, and you know, we've talked about it a lot, you know, in the past, and
so we can start with here the notes.
Yeah, you know, it's just
the
this
worldview that you had.
Yeah, that worldview, you know, which is it would be ironic to say worldview because according to that particular worldview, you know, there would be no worldviews, you know. The worldview was basically that there is nothing. There is nothing there, and that you know, you doubt your own existence, and you
get that a lot today with today's generation, and
oh yeah, it happens, you know, and
it's frustrating.
Exactly, and it's not only frustrating for oneself, but it's also frustrating to see another person, you know, live the consequences of having this sort of lifestyle and, way of thinking,
just
right?
Because, you know, there are going to be a lot of people out there that are going to watch this. Maybe not thinking hundreds of people are going to watch this, but from the people that are watching it, friends and family, could be a friend or family of yours or mine. They're gonna ask, what are you guys talking about? And so we should try to unpack it a little bit, you know, because we are talking about postmodern philosophy.
Right. That is exactly it. That's exactly.
I have no problem when I'm talking with someone, because my purpose is to get them to know God the Father and have a relationship with God the Father through Jesus, right? I want them to know God, so I don't want to push them away. But it's frustrating when someone doesn't have that truth, like an ultimate truth.
Yeah. Like
I lost my thoughts, so I'll let you.
Yeah, no, it just made me think, like you said the other day, you know, and I thought it was pretty funny. He said, I like to talk with people who agree that 1 + 1 is 2, you know.
Yeah, well, this is it, and that's why I wanted to, because, you know, there are going to be people here, they're going to be, you have to understand, especially in America, but in Canada and in secular society, this type of philosophy where, and that's what I was trying to get to, is I don't mind to concede it for moral truth, objective moral truth.
Yeah.
I believe in objective moral truths and moral value and duties, but, you know, that's why I don't want to argue those fine points. We have to start somewhere more physical, whether it's, you know, in a deterministic type of science type of thing, but we need truth. We need
exactly.
Some truth. 1 + 1 has to be 2.
Yeah.
I just want to flip in that. You know.
Nowadays, what I think about it, the world is that culture is basically the fundament of our language and the way that we communicate. I mean, even if we don't want it, or, you know, we may pretend that words don't exist and
words don't
this
exist.
and that, you know. You still communicate with people with words, you know. I mean, what are you using?
Yeah, well,
to talk with people,
that's why
use
earlier
words.
when I was writing the notes down, because one of the first topics, and we can get to it now. One of the first topics are going to be different people that we would like to talk to, whether we could actually talk with them or not. We can pray, God, you know, God, yeah. I want to meet Dr. William Lane Craig, and I want to talk to him about, you know, abstract objects, or this is what we're getting at too, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to say is, words, they're not abstract. Well, I mean, they're thoughts and ideas.
Well,
they
think,
mean to something.
you
They
know,
pertain to reality.
yeah, but it's
Hello.
a pretty fun exercise, also to look at a word and to from that come to a certain words have a just with by the way that we speak, and the different letters, the sounds. There's a whole mentality behind every word, right? I mean, every word has a personality. I mean, it's not just the word; it's also like, I mean, we know the word apple, we know this certain word, but just when we say it, it the way that it expresses, shows a certain something behind, a certain connotation. And I'm not saying this connotation is something
I think
divine.
you're trying to get that there's a spirit to that object or that idea to concept. But you could. That would be the kind of thing that I would be wary to get too in depth with, because it can always extrapolate downward to something.
Yeah,
more.
well, I'd say it's not necessarily
Talking
like
about words and
Yeah, I wouldn't say that this the personality of the word is the meaning, but I mean, perhaps also the personality of the word gives the meaning as well.
You know that we both like Jordan Peterson a lot, and for this kind of discussion, I would go to when he's talking about truth, and truth is it has to be, when you're making it functional. At least this is my understanding what he said, that it has to be pragmatic.
Right. That's it.
And I like that in the different podcasts I heard him talk about. It's easier to show something is false, and we got to make a model of something if we're going to be talking. So that's why for me I don't want to talk about words. I get the postmodern idea that there's power structure, and the person who creates the word, and
well, the word is not really created. I mean, people are going to use the word, and
they're going to use the words that they
they choose. And through the years, we have understood that the words that are the words, and other words could be there as well.
Let's move on to the next one here, because that touched on a lot of different things, especially talking about this in the past. When people don't have truth, when they just have subjective truth, you get that. You get people telling you they don't know if 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah, because they think that.
But what I want to get to is why? Why do you think they think like that? I mean, as a Christian, I can only always go back to that. They're rebelling against God on some level, maybe psychologically or.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I think it's a spirit of rebellion, perhaps from the modern instinct of trying to be different, and
maybe it touches. Yeah, it probably does touch on a couple different emotions there, being prideful.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be different. You wanna taste the power. You want to taste the.
Or maybe they want to do the opposite.
Yeah, perhaps.
I want to disarm your power. If I take away anything, if I tell you nothing has meaning.
Yeah, but
look at that guy that we know when he was saying, you don't know what's in my mind. Maybe in my mind, 1 + 1 is 3. I'm taking some control away from you.
Yeah, I think there's definitely.
I mean, I don't really think
ego correlation with it. I mean, if you don't put your ego before anything, you wouldn't make an argument. You wouldn't.
I'll let you keep talking, because I didn't share any of this. That
Oh
we're
yeah.
live or anything like
share
that.
it on the. Would be a good thing.
I don't think there's anybody would be watching right now, anyways.
Perhaps. I don't know. Is there any?
But this is, if anybody is wondering, it's more for the format of making a live recording, and just tell the friends and family.
But yeah,
share it.
I mean,
what's on your mind? For sure, it's all the wrong stuff. I'm trying to cut and paste there. Keep talking.
I came to the conclusion that the lifestyle that I was leading was it is a disadvantage to have this kind of lifestyle where you think that nothing exists and everything. It's like you dissociate yourself so much from the society that you
Yeah, see, look,
don't use things. You don't like you
I'm
you
telling
pretend
you.
that nothing
Sorry to
exists.
cut you off, but oh, that is Facebook. That's a different tab. Okay, I'm just gonna say I thought so far with the live streaming, I'm more of a fan of the here. There you go. I'm enjoying YouTube
Looks pretty good,
more, but for the social networking aspect, we had to share these things on. And I'll say hello to my mother when she watches the recording.
Yeah, and when
she really wanted to
yeah, maybe she's not gonna
watch it
but-
live. No, it's there. I'm born and raised in Nova Scotia, and it's on the East Coast. We're in Montreal, Canada, so it's a little bit. They're about an hour behind.
Oh, yeah, and also the recording is a couple seconds behind as well, right?
Yeah, even here, the way that because we're streaming live right now to Facebook and to
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And what I was doing, I was trying to get that. Okay, so what's next on the list? Let's go back because the next thing is going to be to examine the feelings and emotions of maybe not necessarily you or me when we have that type of worldview, but it's very depressing. I think when you don't believe in
Yeah.
truth. When
Yeah,
we
well,
make
I mean,
we made some nice jokes about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really think that there might be a part of the brain that's even off while we put ourselves in this situation. I don't know. That's just the way that I've experienced it. When I came back to reality finally after the years, and then I realized that there is truth. And that's basically what they want to teach us in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, Jesus said he is the truth.
He is the truth, right?
Okay, so let's speed this up that we're not, because I don't want to bore people out. That most people out there, most Christians out there, probably don't really care too much about what is truth, what is not. I mean, you bring up a point though. It's in the Bible. It's biblical. We have to, ask these kind of questions. So, I have. Do you think this is gonna sound mean? And I don't want to sound too mean to these social justice type warriors. I'll give a shout out right now to Big Frankie D in New York. He's going to be a guest that we're going to get on here, and his friend Matt.
Maybe you're right on the
screen.
Right
we
on
got
the
it. We got it set
screen.
up. Today is the main testing day. It took me a lot of. Luciano was here. He just was saying 4 hours.
Yeah,
I kept
4
him here
hours here trying
to
well,
set up.
it's
And the same with
yeah.
Frank. Thank you, Frank. Last night he was. I was about to stream by myself, but I didn't have half the stuff ready that I realized. But the technology behind everything is going to evolve. And all right,
Yeah.
so we got talking about in my mind different things to have a little quick conversation like this, sit down with different people that we would want to talk to. And I made a joke that I wanted to speak with two people at the same time. If you could have an interview with two people, I'd want, like I had mentioned them both already, Dr. William Lane Craig and Dr. Jordan Peterson. You can just, I feel bad telling them, just go Google them. Now
They know them. Come on.
no. Anyways, Dr. Peterson's a psychologist.
Yeah,
in
Doctor
University of
Psychology,
Toronto.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most well-spoken person that I've ever heard. Like he's very.
You think so?
articulate.
That's what you really think? So?
I can't think of many people that when I listen to him speak, he really thought about every
Yeah.
word,
Yeah.
and
Well, I don't know
every
if he thought
concept too.
about it,
Like
but
he thought it over and over and over
yeah.
again. Like
Yeah, maybe the concept more.
and then Dr. Craig, he's well, how would I say? He's an apologist. An academic, a writer, professor. He's done everything. And when I first came to know Christ, it was, and before, a little bit before, when I was, just trying to understand things. To go from atheism, like a hardcore anti.
Yeah.
I was very anti-religious. We were
I,
talking
I
about.
would even say I was a nihilist and very anti-Bible. I would criticize the Bible
because you have a preconceived perception.
quoting wars. Like I mean,
Mhm.
I wouldn't even take a quote of a war as a quote of a war. I would just take it as if they were like proclaiming war, or they were the way want to make war.
That's
I would
like
just
that book
not
I was reading
understand
there.
the passages.
Have the audiobook of that. Is God a moral monster? Let me get the keyboard there. I'm gonna bring that up. Actually, I finished.
And I think it's
finished the
all in
audiobook.
the intention. I mean, you can always change your mind in a blink of an eye, but I mean, you gotta want to change your mind. And until there's not that little click, that makes you understand that there is something there to understand. That it's not just what I want it to be.
And on the podcast we're going to be talking about that the doctrine of salvation. It's a big subject, and it's going to touch on a lot of things that we're talking about: freedom, choice, and a large part of what you're kind of touching on, regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
And God, being the one to touch the heart and soul.
Yeah.
He's the one who's going to change us. This is open it up in. I don't have this book, but it's open it up on the Logos website. I have the audiobook though, but I do have Logos open. Maybe we can jump in. I know you were saying talking.
So what is
yesterday.
this about?
Well, I know you were saying yesterday you want to examine scripture a little bit, and I was against the idea, but you never know. This is Logos 7. It's Bible study software. It's basically I have a library in there, which is going to sound funny. People saying I have a library on the computer, standing in front of a bunch of books, but but this I can take. We're recording on my iPad, and everywheres that I go, I take my iPad and I have my Logos.
Did you just burp?
No, I said oops.
Oh.
So open it up. I have 3 or 4 Bibles in here. I have more physical Bibles here, but you can't carry them everywhere. Anyways, I'll close it up another time for that. Here it is. God, a Moral Monster by Paul Copan, I guess. And really good book. I want to use the podcast to engage with atheists or agnostic or unbelievers.
Oh, yeah.
People that
anybody who would like to challenge the truth.
And this book is why I'm bringing it up is because there are a lot of bad arguments that are moral arguments, and they lack philosophy basically.
Yeah, well, they lack logic as well. They're just arguments that contradict itself in such a way that the person who is claiming it doesn't even understand. I mean, I often think about the example of this girl, friend of a friend of mine, who, if you would say, like, if she would hear me talking right now, she'd say she would be mad at me, actually, because I just mentioned that she was a girl, But anyways, her real name was Isabel, and she asked, and I don't really know this girl, I just heard about this girl.
How long do you think the delay is?
It must be about, like,
at least 10
minute.
seconds?
No, 45 seconds.
Look, how long until I do my thumbs up? Is God a moral monster? Look, now I'm checking it. Yeah, people are like, what are they doing? What's wrong?
Anyways, what I was saying is that,
I've never had a podcast before.
That's funny.
There we go, see? Yeah.
Yeah, like 30, 40 seconds.
I do understand what you're saying about the lamp. It is kind of like there, right there.
It could be a little bit more in the middle, I guess. And just in the middle of the table.
It doesn't look too bad. Live with a a half a minute to a minute delay in 720p.
It's funny because you can see.
It's me, Shawn.
You can see yourself in here. You can see yourself in there. You can see yourself in. It goes like infinite.
Soon we're gonna be adding extra cameras so you can like look at our faces and
Yeah.
I'm writing up a guest list. I have people already looking to Skype in, and a couple people that will come in when I actually have the first episode 1 podcast. Like I want to have 2 or 3, 4 guests and have it more structured.
Yeah, it would be cool.
What do we get else on here?
Yeah, well, we're saying, the example of this girl, a friend of my friend, is that her name is Isabel, and she wants her mother. She asks her mother not to call her Isabel, or to call her something else. I don't really know, or I don't remember at least. And because she didn't feel like she was a woman. She didn't. She thought she wasn't either a woman or a man or anything. She didn't want to be called Isabel. She wanted to be called something else, and she didn't like the name Isabel because it reflected the fact that she was a woman. That's what she was saying.
Did you see the woman who?
No,
not the one. Okay. Did you see the person who says they are a Filipino woman now?
I don't know.
I mean, I'll put man says he is Filipino woman. So funny.
Yeah.
The mother the mother of my daughter is a Filipino, and I'm around a lot of Filipinos. I find this really.
But
this is what happens
before
when
you
you
put
have
that.
no
I want to
truth.
just finish what I was saying. Is that she finds that her name Isabel relates too much to the fact that or relates too much to connotes a woman. The name Isabel, and that she's not a woman.
Oh,
but
wow.
If she's not a woman,
Well, she can't really
like
change
her
it.
body doesn't connote the fact that she's a woman, but her name does. Like how ironic is that? Like, I mean, how contradictory is that? Why doesn't her body, which is a woman's body, reflect or connote the
And this
fact
is
that
what I'm
she's
saying.
a woman?
I have no problem.
But a name,
if
an
you want to
abstract
talk about
word,
morally,
reflects to her more the fact that she's a woman. Like how ironic is that?
I don't even. I mean, this is where I wouldn't want to be rude, and anybody that's listening, if you're very, very liberal and whatnot, I understand. We're not talking that we don't think these people should be loved or, have a job or take part in society or anything like that. But, that what you're just describing sounds like a mental disorder to me. Like
That's
something
exactly what I think, man. I believe that's a mental disorder. I mean, it's a mental dysfunction. The brain is not working the way that it should, because it's not following the proper line.
Let's put this,
It's not following the how it
don't-
should be. How God meant it to
I
be.
don't have the YouTube going through,
Got done reading an article, watching a video.
so I
This
don't
was
know
trending on
if
my
it will pick
Facebook.
up.
There is a white transgender
Oh, okay.
male
Just
that identifies
forward
as
this
a,
part, man.
of course, female Filipino.
Yeah,
So
he's just
not
talking
only
about
is
it.
he a
He's not even gonna show it. What the
transsexual,
fuck?
he's
What's your
also a
language?
Sorry. I try not to say the whole word. Just I think it's that
Yeah,
one.
this one here. This is ridiculous. I find.
Tuk tuk.
They have a word for this. They have a word for this in Tagalog. It's bakla. This guy
Bakla.
is bakla, man.
You guys are bakla.
I'd watch the history
You
channel
know?
sometimes for hours.
If you want to color your hair pink and wear a dress,
Intrigues me more, but things about Filipino culture.
That's so weird.
this is the problem. This is where look.
Better, and that makes you happy.
You let people be a man or a woman, choose that stuff. Now they want to choose their race.
Privilege to be a
Tomorrow I want to be a Chinese woman. Can I?
well. The funny
Am I?
And why aren't you like in that case? Why am I not the president?
Yeah,
I mean, why am I not?
a billionaire.
Exactly. It's like you choose want to be what you want to be. Okay, yes, but I mean, you have to work for what you want. That's the
It's
raw
not that,
reality. Unfortunately.
I'm
And
not saying I don't think if you want to wear a dress and stuff, but I would like to. you know, Joe Rogan a lot. He's been saying about how the gun shootings and stuff. There seems to be a link between people on medication for depression or
And
schizophrenia or whatever.
you believe that people who do this sort of shootings tend to medicate themselves more?
No, what I'm saying is, you know, I don't want to get all Alex Jones and they're making the frogs gay, but like this is when people are we have things like and this stuff we want to talk about. Like I have adult ADHD, so mental issues are important. Psychological issues, brain chemistry, all those things are important. We got to live and function in reality. And this is, to me, is this some sort of reflection that something is broken, this person's perception of reality?
Right, it's wrong.
The Filipino man, here he's a Filipino man.
Oh, he's a Filipino man.
No, not to him. He's a Filipina.
He's a woman. She's a woman. He's a woman. Whatever.
Yeah. Man. So
well, this he looks like he wouldn't mind if I just called him by mistake.
Change the topics. Another, like I mentioned earlier, brother Jerome. Want to get him out here. He has a passion for evangelism and witnessing. Earlier too, I was showing you the Facebook page of my friend Rob.
Yeah, very interesting.
And we're watching his podcast a bit.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to get him on there. People who
would be fun, yeah.
It's one thing I like to study and to learn, but you have to apply it. You have to go out there, and these are two guys where they're out there trying their best to reach people, to share the gospel and the love of Jesus Christ.
Right. So, Shawn, I would have a question for you, like, on a practical way, right?
Uh-huh.
What would you define as being the thing that God has changed you the most? Like, what is the action or the habit that you have broken, or that God has helped you go through?
We touched a bit on earlier on the rebellion against God.
Right. Because I know you also have your own past, right? You were also.
I would say more into that aspect that, and this touches on the different ways when I've been reading. I don't know how biblical this is, but like the Dr. James White, I think he touched on it. Proof of the Holy Spirit, the witness of the Holy Spirit. So for me, it would be looking at those kind of things, the way that God has changed my heart from an anti-religious person.
Oh yeah.
To go from that spirit.
Oh yeah. It's such a.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm still me. I'm very prideful. I'm very arrogant. And again, I have that adult ADHD, and that's a part of it. There's the impulsivity or whatever. I'm pronouncing that wrong, but to be impulsive in speech, in action, but also impulsive in emotion.
Right.
To get angry and upset and not to be able to control it or to be aware of it. So that's where God has helped and changed me the most, I think, for myself.
Interesting, yeah.
And you will know this, and most people listening or watching or downloading, whatever, they'll know that my epistemology is based on God as the ultimate truth and having a relationship with God. So the more that I get closer to Him, or to the Father or to Jesus, I'm a Trinitarian Christian here. I go to Presbyterian church, so just to let people know where I'm coming from,
Right.
Those are big things to talk about, and how He's in our heart and working in our heart and working in our life, and all those areas that it touches on, like we've been talking about: thinking, cognition, making decisions, reasoning, what is real, what is truth. They might sound to some people, what are they talking about? But when it comes to evangelism, and witnessing, sharing the gospel to generation today is very much in the university and colleges are being taught. And let's try to keep it simple. That's true for you, but not true for me. Or
Yeah. I was just thinking about it.
that type of mentality.
What do you think would happen if you put two different people on two different islands, but one of them denies the logics and the laws of nature, and the other one is aware of them?
Well,
How do you
that's
think
where
this would be? This would influence their lifestyle.
I think it's Aquinas who coined the term general revelation. So
yeah,
God is, and this is why again when I'm talking about for me gaining knowledge and learning and understanding comes through my relationship with God, and God
right.
reveals Himself
Right.
in nature.
Right.
So I would say that doesn't matter what island they are on, they're both experiencing nature and reality. They are experiencing
No, I'm just
God.
saying. Let's pretend it's the same island, but like let's say one just denies the laws of nature. He doesn't. He could just throw himself from a
Well, I don't know
mountain,
if
or
these
he
people-
wouldn't understand that if he boils the water, or he would just say,
But
if I boil the water, or if I don't boil this water,
But if we're
it's
realistic,
not gonna make
though,
any difference.
again,
you know?
These postmodernists, their worldview doesn't match up with their actions.
Of course
It's
not.
not practical.
Of course not.
They don't.
You can't. If you wanna take this ideology to a practical level, you're killing yourself. Because that's
Sad.
where it's leading. What action is this leading to, other than just pretending to discover a new world and a new perspective that nobody understands, and give yourself this sort of egocentric and narcissistic or marginalized personality where you think that you know better than everybody that has been living in the
then
past.
It also will break down into, Jordan Peterson talks a lot about that hierarchy and when we see those things, tribalism, people breaking down into groups.
Yeah.
And that those are too, like when we're talking about the Bible, how God talks about the human heart, what our heart is like, especially when he's talking to Israel,
Yeah.
quite often it's the whole nation, he's kind of talking
Mhm.
about their heart. They've fallen away from him.
Right.
It's a lot of things that we could extrapolate on from that. What do we got going here? I think we covered most of the different things. Here I have written down, Lord will lift you. Lord will lift you up. It's one of my favorite parts in the Bible when Peter is walking on the water.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Me too.
when
When Jesus walking water too,
When
'Cause,
he's sinking,
Peter, yeah, that's it. But
pulls
that's
him
not
out.
described on every part of the Bible, though. I mean, I don't think that's in Matthew. That's in who talks about that again?
I don't know how many of the Gospels it's in.
Yeah, I guess
That's
we
why
could
it
look
would
it
be a
up on the
good thing
internet.
to look up on.
Yeah. On logos. You said John walking on water.
I am logged on to it. I do have new King James on here, but I'm not a big fan of the King James. I love all Bibles, but
What's your favorite version?
I don't know. I'll go between NIV.
NIV.
New King James, I do like his. I'm a member of Livingstone Presbyterian Church in Montreal, Quebec, in Park Extension, and that's the Bible that we seem to read there.
The New
primarily,
King
all
James.
in the pews.
Yeah.
So, I like to read both. I want it to be in the language of today, and I want to have the best, most updated translations of those words, of the Greek words and the Hebrew words, and I don't see or find that the King James is,
Yeah.
to be honest, if someone asked me, I
It's
would
not
say
accurate
I like
on
to read
the-
many Bibles,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm not at a level where I have on my iPad or my Android tablet, I'll have Greek interlinear and I'll look at it. It's interesting, but I'm not at that level to be reading the Greek.
Yeah.
That I would
I'd like
Google that.
to-
I'll Google that another time that we're talking about in the which Gospels has.
What was it that we were talking about again?
I know, like I have it on the poster there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Actually, that says Matthew.
Oh, it is in Matthew.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No, but that's not. He's not describing John walking on water, though.
No, Peter.
Peter walking.
Yeah, because he's describing because it's a poster I have printed out. Yeah, because when he felt the wind, heard the wind or whatever.
Yeah, it is Matthew 14:22. Yeah. Well, anyways, I don't know. Does every author talk about that?
I don't know. I would look it up. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's from a different perspective each gospel.
Yeah, for sure. That's what's interesting about it, And having the Holy Bible right here, I think, we should probably give it a look. What if we just
That's
play
a
this
New
game
King
where we're
James,
just opening? Oh yeah, this is a New King James.
Yeah.
Let's see. I
I like
just
that
opened it
Bible.
in a Proverbs, and I put my finger
I like
on
Proverbs.
21.
Wisdom.
The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, like the rivers of water. He turns it whatever he wishes. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes. Oh, very interesting. But the Lord weights the hearts. To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice.
To obey is better than sacrifice.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put that on later. It's Keith Green.
Oh, look at
and
that.
Jerome was here earlier. We were talking about different things, and we were looking at that song. Pardon me.
The
That's
haughty look of a proud heart and the plowing of the wicked are sin.
Pardon me. That's interesting.
It's fun sometimes to just open the Bible like that. Look, I just fell on that passage.
Oh, you just flipped open to
Yeah,
Matthew, where they're walking on the water.
yeah.
Now
Funny.
I wanna take it and see which one do you think is more up to date. Should be, I would assume, Facebook or no, YouTube probably. It was in this one. I had here. This is very cool. Very fun to think about this, talk about it, and then even though this is kind of rough, especially the beginning, it's easy to say that you won't be nervous to do stuff like this, but in the beginning it's always like that. Hey, look at that! See there, that's cool. There, you're reading there.
Yeah, very interesting.
Next time we'll get that. Yeah, I have a lot of really old books up there. Some more than 100 years old.
Yeah.
Children Bible. If you want to know, I like over here. I get my children books and Bible stories and lots, and that's that can go into the next segment or topic area. That a large part of my studying and learning, and I'm only a lay person, might only be a lay theologian or a lay philosopher, but I'm a lay apologist too. And so, like we were talking earlier about my friend Rob Lundberg, he's teaches apologetics, and I think that this is something that at church, it's not for everybody, but when you start learning, about Christianity, and especially, like for people like us, or we were enemies,
Right.
learning the arguments.
Yeah.
The young students say they're leaving, they're Christians, and for us, we come to know the Lord on our own terms,
Right.
later on
True
in life.
that.
But the Christians that are from childhood, they get
It's
into
also-
university and that's it. They
There's
get-
a lot of people that think that to know the Lord means to be on the same team as people from 2,000 years ago, and that you act like them, and you kind of have their traditions, and I mean, yes, in a certain way, but it's not
I
only
guess it would
that.
depend on the
It is
tradition, you know,
was
what
that
it is. Depend on what the
yeah, I
tradition is.
mean, traditions and whatever, but I mean,
That's
the
why it
point
was
is that
shown the book that
you know
God a moral monster, because we have to examine those.
yeah,
We have
but it
to
has
examine
nothing
the
to do
past
to
to
then
understand it.
it's not about associating yourself to somebody, but associating yourself to God. You know,
Hey,
you're
no,
not
there's no
joining a
timer or
team.
nothing, huh?
You're just joining God's team. And it's a different understanding. It's not a
It's kind of neat, huh, to see anybody who watches this, because YouTube, this goes right away onto YouTube and to Facebook. So everybody, the personal friends and family and church family,
yeah.
they're
You
gonna
can see the screen here, then you can see the other screen, then you can see the two screens.
two screens.
This two here, and then in the two screens you can see the two screens.
yeah, some.
It's an infinite.
No, it's not real
effect.
infinity. I don't like that. So that's been the main discussion tonight. What I do not like primarily in life, people who deny objective truth.
Oh yeah.
That's a trigger for me. I get upset when people talk like that.
But
2 plus 2
you
is
shouldn't-
4. Don't tell me
You
it's
shouldn't
5.
really get upset. I mean,
True,
the
I
fact that
agree,
you get
I agree.
upset really shows that you care about these people, because deep inside of your heart,
Yeah, because like you said, it's
it means-
dysfunctional.
yeah, you
It's
want to
not
help
practical.
them. If you get mad, it's because you care
Even
about
even
them.
if they don't act like that, there's still a disconnect there. There's something broken there from what they
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
to how
yeah.
they live their life.
Yeah,
So-
and also, I feel like there's a dysfunction between the fact that, like, how much they weight things, like consequences or responsibilities, and
Again,
how,
that's objective moral value.
and I
that's a
like to take
problem
the
because-
example, sometimes, like, people, when they first start having girlfriends, they already, like, they know each other for maybe like one week or something, and they already, like, they feel like they're a couple or something, and they're gonna get married or whatever.
Well,
but
that's neurological as well, though. With
yeah,
the serotonin and the dopamine and those kind of things. It's
but that's
powerful chemicals.
yeah. But there's also something to do with how things really are. I mean, can you really? Yeah, I guess what you're saying is true. Like, my example is not necessarily the best, but I think I scared you. I may have screamed a little bit there because I saw you react like that.
No. It's
Sorry about that. But yeah, I guess
that you can touch on that a lot because thinking, we can't always lean, like the Bible says, on our own understanding,
right,
and we can't always go by how we feel too.
right.
So those are important things.
Yeah.
If you're depressed, if you're under
Oh, yeah.
spiritual attack too, we've been talking a lot of philosophy and stuff, but
And it's
the devil is real,
yeah,
and like our brother Jerome, I was speaking with him earlier. We're like, his name is Lucifer. It's a fallen angel.
right,
He's a real thing,
yeah,
and I can understand people who are secular atheist or laughing at that idea, but you have to take the whole worldview, and you got to start with God first. And that's why earlier we were joking about it. My maximally great interview list
yeah, conversation.
of Dr. Craig
Objective
and
or something, and Jordan Peterson.
Dr. Peterson, to talk with both of them at the same time. That would be my dream podcast. But this is the world that we live in today. This is the reality. People, and I talk about that with many people. Like, God isn't going to force you into a relationship with Him on an intellectual level too. He's not going to force you to know Him or believe in Him.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got the sign over there. Can you get it? Get the sign.
Why you wanna end the podcast right now?
No, but I want to move on to that aspect of it. That's the next part.
Yeah.
Because we spoke about that, like different people that we know, evangelism. This is a sign made made it a long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but
Oh, you want to put it there?
yeah.
Because I was getting distracted by the video, you know?
Ask us about Jesus, and for anybody, it doesn't necessarily have to be only about Jesus or Christianity. If you want to, how can you have faith? How can you believe that? Or you want to, understand more about what it is to have a loving relationship with God the Father through the Son,
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Right.
And talk about salvation, talk about sin.
And actually, we were talking about this the other day, you know? There's some people who are never going to sin and that they're not going to, you know, even have the reflex to think about God, you know? But the to have this relationship, I mean, to understand His presence and to, I mean, some
Yeah.
people are just gonna be naturally good. Some people are just gonna be instantly nice, you know, instantly kind.
Well, that's what, when we're talking the soteriology, and like I said, like Professor Leighton Flowers, I would like to
Yeah.
reach out to him. When we're talking about those things, free will, do you make a choice? Can you make,
Well,
are
I
you
guess it
free
has
to
a
make
lot
a
to
choice?
do with the education that you had, in other and but my point is that to uh, you know, be aware of the presence of God, not only to do things because we don't want to harm anybody, but because we know that there is a God up there who has planned everything to be like this, you know.
But what,
It,
to you,
it is
to
a
you,
whole different level.
what does that mean to you, though, to know God?
Well, to know God to me is to understand that
You're hitting on awareness, or,
Right,
or His
right.
presence.
to understand that we live in a world which
So
I mean, I think you said it all when you talked about awareness, and I'm not only talking about awareness towards the existence of God, but also the awareness of what kind of world we live in and how to achieve the goals that we would like to achieve. You know, if I'm always pretending that life doesn't exist and that nothing really matters, you know, nothing is really truth. No matter how much I read or how much I train or how much I do this, it's not gonna change anything because nothing really means anything, you know,
well,
and
I
I'm
mean,
not really
by
there.
design, I think they are going to have to reach out to God. There is only one real truth.
Should try to put this a little bit higher, man.
Yeah, there's only really one ultimate truth. And to deny it is just going to bring despair.
Right, right.
Especially it's that thing, that person wants a relationship. So these people are denying true joy, true peace, and they don't really have any reason. To be honest, if again, this is a sign here. Ask us about Jesus and about God, and if you're a friend or family or stranger and you're an atheist, I would love to hear if you send a message or reach out. We're gonna set
Mhm.
things up, but
Yeah.
I've
Ask us about
never.
Jesus.
So what I want to say is I've never have ever heard really any good reason that there is no God. There are some that they carry some weight, but when you think through them and understand them, they don't work. You know, and this is why we're talking about truth. That is a necessary requirement. Like a
Mhm.
necessity for God is He is the. We're talking about the Bible here, the God of the Bible, the Christian Bible, and for the Jews, God is unchanging. God is love. God, when he was speaking with Moses, he is I am, the great
Yeah.
I am.
Right.
And in one of my devotionals the other day I was reading, it was talking about that, because it was like you're saying, like it's a presence, it's a state of being, it's the actual
Right.
existing,
Right.
it's eternal. God is eternal, unchanging, never lying. That's another thing that
Ah.
when you don't have truth, then you can lie. So I'll just
Yeah.
move it.
Well, it makes me just think
This
about.
is why you're seeing today. This is in mainstream politics,
Yeah.
in mainstream, the education system. People don't realize it. There are some people starting to get it, and the ramifications of this to say there is no truth. But again,
Yeah.
it's an emotional reaction, to rebelling against God. Because when they have truth, then they have a standard,
Yeah, they will
moral
understand.
standard and duties. Oh, there goes the sign, Scott.
Look, seems like this one is more in delay than that
Yeah,
one.
that's what was my hypothesis. Facebook, I think that's what I said, but
Is there anybody watching right now?
I don't think so.
Let's
Well,
see.
technically we're watching ourselves. I didn't really promote it either. It's just more just for the.
Double click here.
Oh, you want another tab?
No, I want to see it bigger. Here, not
Oh,
double
yeah,
click.
you gotta go back there. I don't think anybody's watching, and that's okay because I didn't broadcast it out or send it out.
Yeah, just post
just
it
to
on
see
your Facebook.
Yeah, I did it already.
Oh yeah,
Videos reference internal.
post it on 4chan, man. Let's see what people say.
No.
On
Well,
Reddit.
I'm gonna start promoting it and doing things like that. I have a bit of a.
Post it on Reddit, man.
I have a bit of a background in technology and email marketing and doing those different things. It's always fun. Earth Day is coming. If my friend, got some friends out there, they really love their Earth Day.
Earth Day.
Yeah, you know what? You know what the best way to view the planet Earth is? Is Google Earth.
Yeah.
Google Earth, best app ever. And if you have an iPad or an iPhone, really good to get iTunes. So, anyways, some hidden jokes to some people out there. It's cool. It's cool. I wish we
Yeah.
had a timer here, because I'm gonna call it a time to stop. I think now.
You think? I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's fun, man.
No, because I want it to be, like you say, structure to it, and I don't want to ramble too
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
and,
you're right. But whatever. We're just talking. It's fun.
and here we got Brian Wall again. I have a plan for you. I love this guy. Here, I don't mean to steal your microphone.
Oh. Come on.
This is not your home.
Oh.
I have a plan for you. A plan for you.
Nice way to end it with a good song like that.
So don't lose hope.
I'm just gonna put the wire in.
I
You
have
can
a
go live again
plan
later too,
for
which
you.
it's already 11:30.
A plan
All
for
right, thank you,
you.
everybody. Want to thank Jesus Christ. Thank
These
Father,
dark
thank Holy
days,
Spirit.
you'll find
You know,
me. When you
thank all our
seek
friends and
my
family and our church family.
face, you'll find
Lord,
me.
bless everyone too.
When you call my
We want to
name,
be your servants. We want to make your purposes come true. We know they're going to come true. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you, Lord. And everything that you have thought about and put into plan, it's going to
I
come
am the Lord your God,
true. So
and I
I want
will
to say thank
not
you to anybody who watches this video.
ever let
Send your comments and
you
questions.
go.
And
Bring you
if you're a friend or somebody that we know that we've been talking to some people out there, Frank, Matt, watching Rob's podcast today.
So don't lose hope.
And if you don't know Jesus Christ, I have a little challenge for you. Just
Bring
when you're
you
alone,
home.
whether it's Jesus or God, you just cry out to him and say, God, if you're real,
These dark
I want to know you
days
and I want to understand you.
find me.
And if you really do love me and want
When
have a
you
relationship with
seek
me, then
my
come into my
face,
life, please.
find me.
Because in the Bible, he
When
promises
you
if you
call
seek him
my
out with
name,
all your heart,
you
you look for him, he's
find
going to come to you.
me.
And it might sound hard if you're a hardcore atheist and you don't
'Cause I
understand.
have a plan for
It sounds like
you.
myths, or that's okay. We understand that.
I will be
I'd like to talk to
good
you on a level with science and philosophy.
and I am
reason and logic, evidence. And I know some of our Christian friends and our Christian family, they might not agree with that. Not everyone is into evidence. But we believe, if God has called you, He tells you He loves you, and you feel that in your heart, even if you feel just a little lonely that you're missing something, a relationship with God, that's the hole that, you can't fill it up. So we'll stop her here.
I have a plan.
You want to add something?
I will be good.
Oh, here.
Yeah, we'll have more time to talk. We will.
And an extra microphone or two,
We will be
and
back.
more people.
Yeah. So we'll have more time to talk, and we'll be back on the next episode of. It is.
It's me, Shawn. And then soon we'll get it's a Luciano
and then
show. So.
I may be the Luigi in there. Yeah. This microphone sounds really good, eh?